construction and shutting down TSM at USN 2019, and then as well as his kill with Echo all the way from Strip Club. Echo's not supposed to be in Strip Club. Like, it's not supposed to happen. But OXG, I think that their playstyle just applies better to this map. Personally speaking, I think that Oxygen have the edge in this one.
Well, we'll have to see, especially with the way that they played the defensive half in the previous map. If they're going to bring that in-your-face playstyle, that unpredictable positional playstyle against DarkZero, who, let's be real, didn't really find a counter to that throughout all of Consulate, then how are they going to be able to counter it again? That's the big question. Well, through the bans, of course. So take a look at these real quick, as Ace, Capitao, and Wamai have been knocked out. Really, the only big difference coming in here is the Capitao has been brought into the fact. Also important to note that Thatcher nor Maverick have been banned out. So hard breaching options are wide open right now, minus Ace, when it comes to any sort of tricking that needs to be done. Mirror is going to be our final ban as we wrap up that phase.
This is going to be an extremely even bout between the offense and defense here. Obviously, it's still going to trend somewhat towards the defense. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves here. This still is Clubhouse, but it's going to be more equal than what we're used to seeing. A lot of the times we're used to that Thatcher Maverick ban coming in here, neither of them even being touched inside of this ban phase. I mean, overall, some good bans coming in from both of these teams. The Capitao Wamai is what stands out the most to me, and you know, that's more than likely simply because they want to ban that Wamai away. They don't want Capitao to be too potent, especially on a map like Clubhouse. You know, there's a lot of positions for your anchors to sit, and there's a lot of waiting game inside of those positions here on this map. So if you have Capitao that's going to force them to move constantly, especially during those execution times, they're going to have very, very easy means to those entry kills that they're desperately going to need at that time.
All right, guys. Well, let's see what the setups are going to look like here. See if we're going to have anything interesting between either team. Nothing crazy coming out so far. We're more than likely going to have a potential rotate on that third church wall there. And other than that, just the rotate being set up by the smoke now over here into blue to allow the Jaeger, if they have one, Slash more than likely to play into that position, but it could be a different player too, depending on the specific game plan from Oxygen. There is going to be somewhat of an upstairs roam, it seems, as well. Additional reinforcements are going to be committed to both the jacuzzi and primary balcony walls on either side of the second floor. So DarkZero will have to spend some time clearing that out before they're going to be able to approach the basement. Also important to note here too, you've got Foxay roaming around the upstairs bar extremities. So much like the way that we were seeing the playstyle echo on the previous map, there's going to be a lot of unknowns here that DarkZero will have to be able to lock down.
Yeah, and this is really the problem, right? Like, this is what DarkZero's experienced throughout this entire series so far when Oxygen's on defense. You can't get a beat on them because they move around so much. Foxay just sprinted all the way across the map. Granted, he's now dead, but I mean, like, Hyper...
Not a great way to lead into our
Hyper's
point there, but...
yeah. Thanks for cutting me off, Hyper. But either way, I mean, double kill now. I'm just gonna stop.
No, please finish your point. Finish your point about how the roam game from Oxygen will stop DarkZero from accomplishing anything this round.
Well, it might stop DarkZero, but it's definitely not going to stop Paul from doing anything. I can definitely tell you that.
That always happens that way.
I can call him Paul, by the way. We're friends.
Oh yeah, is that how that works? I see. So we've got DarkZero moving in. It shouldn't be any remaining roam game at that point. Even if there were any, they'd be very crazy to stay out and about from the site at this point. They do need to focus on anchoring, given that there's only 3 of them left. So with that said, all 3 will now play Turtle on the site, and DarkZero will have free reign to do their best effort, at least, to try and open up the hatches here, as well as give them some top-down angles to play off of.
Crazy promising start for DarkZero here. Those 2 early frags are going to change up how this entire round goes for the defense. They are still going to have some options available to them, but this is mostly going to lean onto Biologic and what he can possibly produce with these smoke grenades. Other than that, you're really leaning on or hoping for, if you're an Oxygen fan, close engagements from DZ so that these SAS operators can come alive with those M590s. If not, this is more than likely going to be a DZ round, as they've painted that picture very vividly early on as they establish dominance. Nitro Cell out for vertical downstairs and pulse spot, but it's not going to work out as everyone upstairs still indeed draws air. Vertical still trying to exist inside of this area. Very aggressive towards the hatch, but he needs these picks. They're practically a necessity at this point. Oh no, Eclipse swings wide, way too wide and vertical with a very quick frag, but Hotten's already worked his way inside of Dirt. Laxing and Bio, the only two that remain left. Bio still with some toxic babes in his pocket, takes down one. Bio gonna get a lot of damage onto the Hibana as well. Good pickups here from OXG. He's also going to take down a member. This is doable, but now they're out of those toxic smokes. Laxing's adjusted upstairs as well. Case control now in that palms of Hyper, but what can he possibly do with it? He needs to get this pick, and they've already adjusted away. Banshee slows him down, and all for naught for DarkZero. Those early kills don't mean a single thing if you can't close it out.
Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. It gave them the false confidence that they would win the round. See, so the roam game absolutely still applicable here. No,
you can't even say it with a straight face.
No, I couldn't. But yeah, a really weird start to the round there as both the roamers get picked off. Beautiful picks, by the way, from Hyper for being able to eliminate them. But that entire buildup, that pre-5v3 that they get for themselves at the start, gives them nothing, unfortunately. It doesn't get them into the site. It doesn't give them greater capability to execute. The three site players are still able to, just among the three of them, fend off any attempts to be able to attack and get to the inside of the site. Beautifully defended by those three remaining players on OXG.
I think the most notable one, MVP of that round, has to be Laxing.
Yeah.
What an adjustment from him. I believe he went up main stairs, but even in the same breath, how the hell do you do that? Because DarkZero should have control of that, so I'm very surprised that he got up there and got that control, because they obviously ended up getting the kill onto the sledge through vertical play, so that could account for that. He more than likely was assigned to that kitchen area. And if that is the case, that is such a good identification from Laxing that, you know, DarkZero only utilized sledge inside of kitchen, and they really don't put anybody around main stairs. If he actually read into that, oh my goodness gracious, what a play from him.
Definitely some impressive stuff from Oxygen, and shows us that that last play, or the play from the second half on Consulate, wasn't just a fluke for Consulate itself, that they truly can play into that fashion on this map as well. And they're going to be able to get a little bit more crazy with it this time, potentially actually to a bit of a lesser degree, if I'm being honest, as they'll have to go into cash, where unfortunately their roam game is going to be slightly restricted to certain areas of the map here.
Well, you say that, but they could always go the, Sonic's route, ban sledge and bring a castle downstairs.
Yeah.
Could possibly do that, but that's not the case
Not
here.
the case, so.
Instead, we're going back to regular means, but for the most part, it's actually kind of different from what we're used to seeing here. We don't have any wall denial. We have a couple of squads that still really like to run that, but Oxygen would much rather have a gun with a nitro cell attached to that kit, and that's exactly what they're bringing for the most part. Bio, Slash, and Foxay all bringing nitro cell operators, just trying to get these early picks once again and not slowing down the aggression by any means. That early nitro cell is going to open up an avenue to Jacuzzi, but there's not going to be too much contention out there. Mint with an early frag takes down Slash, as I believe he hops out the window, and Master, yes he does, hops right outside on the balcony and ends up losing his life.
A bit of aggression not going to pay off for Oxygen this time around. However, still plenty of time within the round itself for that to change up. Only about half of the time has been used up here, and DarkZero is spending a lot of it trying to lock down where exactly positions are going to be played. They know that OXG constantly is trying to throw them off with their roam game, so they need to be triple sure before they try to throw any aggression out. For instance, we can see Foxay here going all the way to the end of the dirt tunnel to try and see if he can find a free pick against anyone who might have been repelling or peeking out a little bit too far from the roof. These are the types of things that I'm talking about, where you see Oxygen trying to throw off DarkZero. That doesn't mean, of course, he's got a very long rotate back to the site, but thankfully the path is clear, so it shouldn't be too much of an issue. Laxing committing both of his impacts there, and I believe a teammate also throwing one in too. Will deal with a large majority of the ex-Kairos dots that are thrown out there. The third charge is used, however, so it should make up the difference there on that upper breach. It's messy, but I'm pretty sure players can crawl in through that if they need to.
We'll have to see if they're able to get access. Stun grenades in now, but they're getting eaten up by the ADS. Finally, the last one in, and Laxing trying to avoid all flashes all the time, but still able to get a frag. Bounces back, though, into DarkZero's hand as Mint goes for two. That's a triple kill for him on the round. Still has some pressure onto Garage as well. Vertical and Foxay, the last two remaining Oxygen members in this 2 versus 4. Vertical playing inside of Garage, that typical ADS setup for the Jaeger, but not going to help with bullets as the hail of gunfire comes in, removes his head, and all of a sudden it's Foxe instead of this 1 versus 4. Shuts down Hyper on the rotation for Cash. Still has access to the top of red. Pre-Fire's not able to find anything. Still has one on Breach. Bouncing back and forth. Has an ADS, but he's staying on the balls of his feet, folks. Could go any which way right now, but has to worry about the pressure from behind that could possibly ensue as well. Flicks back, but it's Eclipse. He heard him move and able to get that frag right as that pin drops.
So a good response from DarkZero to be able to put them on a good foot forward here. Taking round number 2 and now tying us up at 1-1. Able to restrain a lot of that extra pressure too, or at a minimum avoid it, as we saw a couple of players from OXG trying to get a fast kill off onto the members of DZ, a fast pick, if you will, but not able to isolate any of those players this time. So DZ has much greater success with actually executing through normal means, as they've been trying to do for some time, but at least based off the last map, have been having a lot of problems doing so. CCTV is going to be reattempted here by OXG as they think it was close enough to try it again.
Yeah, they're more than likely going to change things up, and you highlighted something there that was really the entire reason why everything fell apart, and that was Mint, right? I mean, like, the guy just sat on the roof, simply waits for picks, and then eventually moves on over to Breach and gets another, additional 2 kills, able to hold down the entire important side of the site for DarkZero, as well as getting picks. Extremely impactful round from him. So as long as we continue to have this from these DZ members, I think everything's going to be good for them on offense for the most part. The thing is now, though, Oxygen going back up to CCTV, they're probably going to slow this down quite a bit and just try and get aggressive from their default positions instead of trying to make something happen across the map. Obviously, that's probably going to not be the case when it comes to Foxe or some of these roamers from OXG, but for these site players, I don't think we're going to be seeing, someone standing on the server stack while we have Breach open or something along those lines.
All right, so DarkZero out and about now, trying to take the control away from OXG. Like you had mentioned, some things are changing up here, so we don't really have much of an extended game for Oxygen at all on this round. Most of them are stacked, if not right on top of each other here, right next to the sites. We're going to see a few players still maintaining downstairs control, and Foxy's going to begin to lurk his way onto the inside of Garage, where there is some potential for play here, but probably not anytime soon, unless he's going to go for this here. He's hit the door twice, but that's just prepared for later. He's got a camera outside. This is the info that I was looking for to decide whether he was going to make a play or not. The wall's been opened up now, so he can also work with teammates to commit to this too, but the time where he's going to be able to find the impact is quickly fading away here, so...
And that could be a major problem. He's got the door open now, and this is actually
There's
going
a Claymore
to be
outside of it, I think. That's the other problem.
Oh, yeah, I can see the
yeah, there is a Claymore there, so...
It's very hard, to decipher those when you're looking at a Minecraft enchantment table sometimes. It's just very difficult sometimes when this thing gets pixelated. But there's definitely a Claymore out there. Foxy's going to get rid of it, but obviously the audio cue going to go to the man upstairs. And that man happens to be Thatcher. So Mint all the way up top, making sure that Foxy can't make this run out happen. What a drone from Mint as well, if anybody saw that one. All the way over in the balcony to make sure that no one's trying any funny business.
As we just saw from Foxe, but like we said, Foxe not really able to get a commitment out there just because by the time he was actually ready to swing, he found the Claymore and he found the fact that his opponents were quickly rotating away from that position. So down to that final minute here for DZ. It's been a very, very peaceful round so far with, again, no damage done to anyone here. Those impacts are going to broil in over the top and destroy actually some pretty important parts of that X-Kairos matrix, but at the end of the day, the third one's also going to take some heat there too, as they really just can't get a smooth opening onto that construction wall due to the impact trick and constantly getting thrown back at them. I mean, Oxygen even has such comfortable control to a point where Vertical has no problem just taking this aggressive stance on the breach because DarkZero aren't providing any other pressure otherwise. And now, because they failed to open up the construction wall, they don't really have a viable way in. They've got to try to piece it together here, but any path towards the site right now leads directly into a fight with another player. The good news is that Vertical got impatient waiting for the breach swing, so he swung himself, and that's an opening kill over to DZ, but it does not alleviate the construction issues, which are still very, very prevalent here.
frag grenades and now able to down one. Hot and Cold all of a sudden starting this plant, and he's still living. It's still going on, folks. This is actually going to happen. We're into post plant now. DarkZero fights their way into sight. Biologic still on top red, and he's still, well, actually no, out of smokes and downed. Doesn't even matter anymore. Foxay and Laxing, the only two that remain. Foxay, the only one on site. No nitro cells at their disposal either. They're trying to make this happen, trying to make it work. Goyo shield goes off after Foxy gets a kill on Disguise, but the post-plant positions, too powerful right now. DarkZero actually ended up hopping inside of CCTV window and planting it directly below the window sill. That means they can contest it from anywhere, and that's exactly what's going to happen. DarkZero take round 3 off of an extremely cheeky plant.
It's a very, very scary execute, and as Soak said, a very, very scary plant, but it works. The Hail Mary play pays off for DarkZero to try and plant it in the depths of the site, despite not having a real viable way in. Away from that, they get it and are able to establish great post-plant positions that, unfortunately for OXG, they just do not have enough firepower at that point to battle back against. So DZ takes the lead at 2-1.
What a round there from DarkZero. You know what I liked so much about their push right there? Even though they ended up botching the X-Cairo, so really the Impact botched them. It's just very weird the way that they broke up. So, but nevertheless, Habana, as well as the rest of the squad inside of construction, no longer have a means to try and get inside. They have to try and funnel, but they'd already gotten the breach open, so they go for this plant. But the thing is that they dedicated their utility to clearing out cash because they knew they wouldn't have to worry about any CCTV pressure because of the breach. That's what separates DarkZero and their game plan and their thinking from a lot of teams. They went for this play strictly based off of what was going on inside of sight. They knew they had the utility to force Oxygen back to red stairs, or, you know, if matters get worse, kill these guys and make sure to remove them out of play. And for the most part, that's exactly what happened. They get full cash control, get this plant down in a very weird manner. You assume the garage player would handle it, but just didn't have the beat on where the location was. I mean, there was just so much gunfire, explosions, and everything else going on. Someone typing on a keyboard isn't exactly going to change things up.
Fox has the lineup here. Doesn't have the shot, though. Has to quickly fade away from his position over at the inside of Strip. He's going to wait for the response drone, see if they're going to try to hunt him down, but doesn't look like it. Hot and Cold, more than anything, I think he's scared for his life at this point. He hasn't even thrown the drone yet. He just did it now. So I need to be very careful about this one. Slash also tries to get aggressive in the same neighborhood and is going to pay the price for it there. Hyper takes him down. Foxay still around, although he did kill a drone, so they know he's in the neighborhood. And there you go. Hot lines up the shot, takes out Fox. And DarkZero already has a 5v3, less than a minute into the round.
Well, that's a way to start off a round for Oxygen. I can't say too much just yet, because in this exact same way, Oxygen were able to pick up their very first round. So let's not get too ahead of the card just yet. Definitely still a chance here for them, but the thing is now, it's on to DarkZero. Can you actually win this round with this man advantage? The last time we saw DarkZero end up getting picked off as well as flanked from the main stairs. DarkZero now need to make sure they lock down these rotations and get good intel on where these Oxygen members are. And folks, here it is, right here. This is exactly why Laxing is the man that he is and why everyone not only hates but loves his playstyle. The guy immediately rotates upstairs, tries to make something work. He gets droned out, but he's going to transition back downstairs. He might even go for something else. You never really know with this guy, but either way, he's dedicated more time upstairs to try and slow down DarkZero, and it's worked for the most part. They're now getting down to the soft destruction and working everything else around the map, but getting that below that 130 mark, extremely important.
Definitely important for the overall success. Our attacking team here now. DarkZero looking to finalize things as they get closer and closer to the capability to start swinging to the inside. Hotten's going to open up Dirt Tunnel as an option for these guys to be able to use here if they should need it. Still working on dealing with some of the top-down work, though. And this is going to get dangerous, in my opinion, with the time we have left. They need to start moving into position to execute relatively soon. Verd at least has been drawn away due to the noise that was made at Dirt, but he also may be getting aggressive. The big question is if DarkZero is going to plan to send anyone over there, because if so, then Verd's got a great position. If not, then the bait on the hard breach has worked, basically. That's definitely pulled someone away from the site, but that's probably going to change now with Hyper's most recent kill, taking out a player over by Blue. The strategy has to look very weird at this point for Vert, but no, still gonna run out and check it. Finally, he knows what's going on, but he also now knows that he's the last player standing, so the job has been done regardless.
Well, he's He's definitely up the creek. We'll see if he has a paddle. Vertical, 1 versus 5, coming through dirt. Does have a drone there, and they know exactly where he is. This is not going to be a good time, even for someone as mechanically skilled as this guy.
Oh.
Frag grenade in. It's perfectly cooked, and that's going to be a flawless round as Eclipse, what a toss, knocks that guy right off the stage.
Bonus points for going through the countertop there as well. Hell, without messing that up. So
I think that was plus 200.
yeah, nicely done right there. As our attackers continue to take control, pushing ahead here, now having figured out, or at least being able to pallet the crazy aggression from OXG. DZ is now in a considerable lead here at 3-1 on Clubhouse, looking to try and take it even further. And OXG feeling the repeat yet again here. They're going to go right back down to the basement.
Yeah, this has been very difficult for Oxygen overall, and that was the big question that we had before this map. I gave the edge to Oxygen because I thought their playstyle would apply well here, and it has in the past. And it's not that they haven't been doing, you know, Oxygen things. It's simply that DarkZero are playing Clubhouse better than Oxygen is right now. They're establishing very strong cutoffs, getting these roam kills. There's so many positive things going on for DarkZero right now that it's hard for Oxygen to fight through these. You have to remember, Oxygen have only gotten around simply because DarkZero messed up. There was no, oh, Oxygen made that happen. They did not make that happen. DarkZero botched, and Oxygen were able to get the round because of that. So inside of this so far, DarkZero have only lost a round simply because they botched that execute downstairs and didn't respect what Oxygen had going on. They now have the respect, and they're walking all over them.
Well, it's up to Oxygen to see if they can try to take that away a little bit here, or maybe shake things up as they were able to do on Consulate. But so far, it's been unconvincing, and they've only got 2 more rounds on their defensive side to truly convince us and convince themselves of their current strategies. Try to get some points on the board here, but no, man. Again, Hyper starting us off so strong for DarkZero, and such an unfortunate turn of events for OXG. Slash is going to be found out. I'm not sure if he was even committed to a fight or just happened to be moving when the spray went down, but either way, Hyper catches him, takes him down, continuing to build on an already impressive scoreline of what is now 7-1.
DarkZero had prep drones inside of garage, as well as Sky's droning out like the bar connector area. So since they were able to get on the drones so early on, they get the good intel onto Slash, and Hyper just feeds the entire wall of magazine and rips his head off. So I mean, like, that's just so unfortunate for Slash. He's actually had a really good day, but this map alone, 0-0 and 5, he hasn't even found an assist, and that's got to be a struggle, especially through 5 rounds.
What is this from Fox? How did I even miss this?
This is a Super 90, by the way. This is Frost Shoddy.
I just saw this. Wow. So Fox bringing the Super 90 into the picture as well here. Try and make some play with that. I'm very curious to see if this is going to pan out. Vert tricking. It should work. Oh, I think he threw it a little bit too late there, so never mind. Not going to see the electrical.
Secondary EMP.
Yeah, there you go as well. That'll take care of it. I saw the circle, and I saw it stop blooming, but the circle stayed behind, so I got confused. But either way, EMP is going to take care of that second electric claw. Gets rid of it. Opens up the hatch for DarkZero to be able to attack from Foxe. Still looking to use the shotgun here. And I am very excitedly waiting to see if it's going to work or not.
I think the main game plan is, hey, Eclipse, hit the floor. I'm just going to Super 90 everything around you and try and murder you. Yeah, this is exactly it. Funny enough, I've been wondering why teams haven't been doing this recently, but I guess I now have my answer. Contesting vertical play with shotguns might not be the play, because once there's a lot of vertical play, you tend to die. So that one makes a lot of sense, so I won't be recommending that one to anybody. Oxygen, now worse for wear here inside of this round 5. 50 seconds remaining on the clock. 2 versus 5 right now for them. Hyper 7-0 and 1. Oh, baby, lighten up the scoreboard for DarkZero right now, and they need them to continue to have this impact, shutting down all of these Oxygen members whenever his time is called. They now have some pressure, though. Not worried about vertical at range. No! The grenade drops out of his hand! Not like this, DarkZero! It's a 2 versus 2 all of a sudden with 20 seconds remaining. Mint's inside of Moto. He might actually have a frag, but it's actually Vert with the quick frag instead from Moto. Or actually, excuse me, inside of Church. But it's left all up to Skies. He drops inside of Kitchen Hatch. Knows where the initial one is on Dummy's box, but does he know about the cross inside of Church? Oh no, not consistent with the shot, and Laxing gives him the business with the Oda. Oxygen once again walk away with such a weird round. I don't even know how to describe it.
What a turnaround there too. Like we had, and I mean, really doubling down there on the weird round. We had like the super 90 play from Fox that unfortunately didn't lead to much. Very curious to see if that'll get explored in the future at all, just because I think a two-man team could work that really well. It's just the glaring lack of defense for the player with the shotgun seems to pop up there as the immediate issue when it comes to that strategy. But either way, even past that, the great hold as well as the massive unfortunate turn of events there. Yeah, as Laxing's now mentioning it in the chat, that TK really did a number on the attack for DarkZero that they unfortunately did not have the capability to work back from in the late round there, seeing as they didn't have any position in sight to play off of to begin with. And going back down into an even fight just didn't really allow them to work their way in.
No, not at all. I mean, hell of a pickup from Oxygen, but again, just negligence from DarkZero. Like that is something that's held quite often, and DarkZero also holds that exact same angle. So it seemed as though they just didn't have any intel on what could possibly go wrong if they start contesting that hatch, and well, they surely found out, didn't they? Oxygen picking up that last round, but we've shifted gears now. This is going to be the first time that we're seeing Jim from Oxygen, and they've got a pretty unique setup here. This is looking somewhat similar to what we saw from United this year, but they've switched out a couple of things. Number one, we do have the Goyo here, but the shield's being played a lot more aggressively up front. No Valkyrie play, no Malusi play either. They've got Clash along for the ride, so it's definitely an extended hold here for Oxygen with little bits and pieces as well as some of their own magic applied to this.
Let's see here for Oxygen. Like we've been talking about, although we've seen success in them, still only 2 rounds being picked up here on Clubhouse defense, which has to make some people worried given the way that this map usually tends to play out in a very defender-sided fashion. If they can get the 3rd round up on the board here with a final win on round 6, all right, things will start to get a little bit more palatable given how this map usually goes. That'll all depend, of course, on if DarkZero is going to be able to bring a strong defensive performance to the table. I would assume yes, but given the way this series has been played out, who knows what we're going to get. Everything's up in the air right now. Let's focus on this round, and we can worry about the future later. DarkZero with a lot of focus at the moment on clearing out CCTV and Cash Room. Bio's actually withdrawn from Cash completely, so this might just be given over relatively early on to allow them into construction where hopefully the Clash can have greater capability to play against that push. The Clash is being used in a couple different ways, though, as we see Bio make a huge transition over to the Jacuzzi wall now, so still kind of open on the plans for what they try to use that operator for.
Quite the early callback call or fallback call here from Oxygen. We'll see how this works out for them, but they've adjusted to how they're setting things up. So they put ADSs to assist Slash inside of logistics, and they really just want to go for a low maintenance hold here. Keep it close to the chest and make sure that there's a minimal amount of errors that can possibly go on. They're trying to win this round, and at this point, it's practically a necessity. As you said, if they don't end up winning this, it's more than likely DarkZero walking away with this series, and Oxygen by no means want to go home right now. This setup overall, though, extremely interesting, like we were talking about before, especially with this fallback plan that they've put in, well, they've already enacted. I mean, they mostly have to play off of Bio and these deployable shields, so we'll see if they can get these picks or if DarkZero are going to have the utility to burn through that. It's mostly looking like the DarkZero show for now, though, strictly based off what they have at their disposal, specifically with Mint here.
Hyper as well, looking for the capability to try to find an opening, take it down in the depths of Logi, but no one from the Oxygen side playing into that at this point in the round here, so at least no one visible from that POV over above the hatch here. Foxe start to open things up from down below as he's on the smoke right now. Will have the capability to try to chuck in smoke charges from this side. He's going to attempt to set the same thing up, I believe, on a construction position too. And this could work out pretty well if they don't try to clear him, but, well, there you go. My words speak for themselves. Mint will clear out Foxe here, taking him away from the equation. Slash, though, with the exchange. Hot with a good call to jump off the plant here. Sees the foot of the Goyo, but unable to get that kill. Frags are happening elsewhere, though, including the death of the Goyo. And Bio and Slash will fall shortly after that to cede it to DarkZero as they claim a 4th at the end of the half.
Yeah, I got to go back to what we were talking about earlier. Like, the fallback from Oxygen at that point in time just seemed really premature. I mean, DarkZero didn't have any map pressure really going on. I mean, they got obviously the CCTV wall open, but there was nothing really going on Cash side. And when you have a Clash and all of this other utility at your disposal, not only for your site players, but to keep your Cash player alive longer and also contest construction for quite some time, it's just weird that they backed up so quickly. And obviously, like, it almost worked out in their favor, but it just seemed as though it allowed DZ to get a vice grip on Jim that Oxygen never never accounted for.
I would not be surprised if there was some missed info or something like that, or potentially even bad info that about what was going on over on Jacuzzi balcony that would have drawn the clash over to that position specifically more than anything else. So I don't know if that's what happened. It could have just been a generic call to fall back because we need to focus on the site. But either way, it allows for the folks on DarkZero to get that much closer to the site that much sooner, and seems to have helped out even to a minimum degree with her capability to take fights and generally play the round out with control of cash.
Well, DarkZero now over onto the defensive side of things. Hyper currently 9-0-2. He's going to be our top fragger inside of this series so far. I think every single one of the games that he's participated in today, he's had double-digit frags. And for somebody that was just in a hospital bed a few days ago, my God, man, this guy is lighting the world on fire. Hyper continuing to be the crown jewel of DarkZero and what this roster can possibly make happen. So DZ signing themselves upstairs, pretty rudimentary stuff, especially, you know, for DarkZero's case. They're the team that we usually see innovating a lot, but it's back to basics here for them, all the way down to bandit tricking with hot and cold.
All right, 30 seconds gone from the round here. DarkZero is trying to put a bit more of an active defense up against the wall. It's an important note to talk about here that they are bringing the denial. They are attempting to stop the wall from being open. But if you remember what I talked about during the ban phase, it's still going to be difficult to accomplish because we've got Thatcher enabled. We potentially have like Kali even enabled. And then in a worst case scenario, you've got Maverick to work with too. So trying to trick successfully here is not easy. You also have players on the window across from the room, which as you're going to see there, can just outright deal damage to Hot and Cold in this situation. EMP goes out, disables the battery. Houghton cannot stop it as he's still reeling from the fight taken at the window earlier. So there you go. The garage, or excuse me, not the garage, the balcony is going to be opened up, and Oxygen have their way in.
Well, they have their way in, but at what cost? A very minimal one. That's the answer, by the way. I mean, they really just opened the wall, and there's no if, and, or buts that DarkZero had about it. As you said, some damage onto Hot and Cold, but that's really going to be it. Now, Oxygen needs to try and transcend this into something else here. They've already adjusted across the map. Foxay currently inside of logistics, looking to see if he can get anyone inside of construction. This might be a switched offense here for Oxygen. It seems as though they really want to go for a construction take instead. They've already got the breach open so they can have somebody hold for the cross for CCTV. So far, this is looking like a very strong start on this offense.
Let's see if they can get that construction wall open when DarkZero is trying to take control here. Oh, a good spot. I don't know if Mintz realized it either. He did just get spotted out by a drone. He sees it at the final seconds of when he was about to be pushed out there. So good judgment call from Mint. Took him a minute to realize what was going on, but he got out of there just in the nick of time. Now Hyper potentially lining himself up for a duel, but Bio getting himself started back upstairs. He's able to take down Mint. He has not realized, Fox, as we take a look at him, that Hyper still has his position just below the main stairs, so that could come back to haunt them, but Fox seems to get a piece of intel there. He realizes what's going on, but Bio actually does the job for him, takes out Hyper on that flank. Brings us down to a 5v3. Now they'll feel safe to open up the construction wall and start inching their way into the site. All the defense right now is focused down on security. They don't have a lot to defend cash with.
Oh, and another pick comes in for Slash, Eclipse, and Houghton, the only two that remain for DZ. Case starts to go down here for Slash Jug. Houghton back and forth on the top of red main, but it doesn't even matter. Oxygen nip it in the bud, and that's going to be a flawless round for them. Very dominant inside of that victory. I mean, even all the way down to what they did to Hyper. That wasn't even drone intel. They knew that he had adjusted downstairs inside of like the kitchen area. So he simply sprinted upstairs and then doubled back because he knew that Hyper was going to try and chase him down because he heard him run up the staircase. So again, the mind games going on between these players. These are the little things that happen that we don't necessarily see all the time where a pick randomly happens. You're like, oh my goodness, how did that happen? It's usually these mind game things that we don't get to see, you know, up close and personal very often. So very clean and very well done from Oxygen.
Coming down to the wire here, folks. Final rounds coming up. We've got 4 remaining, including this one, I do believe. Between these, I think it's 5 actually, because counting when you include the current numbers.
Carry the 1.
Yeah, it's like math, man.
What's 9 plus 10?
21, right? But yeah, it's gonna be it's getting late, folks. This always happens, I swear. DarkZero is going to be holding on to a basement site this time around here, bringing a lot of what we would kind of expect to see on this one. The Goyo is going to be an interesting addition to the basement hold as well that should fit in pretty nicely here and allow for a bit more freedom and a bit more of a comfortable setup for some of the extended positions that I'm sure DZ is going to try and play off of. For Oxygen, more the same, of course. Attacker lineups don't generally need to vary all that much for the most part, except for some very special conditions. We're going to see a lot of the same flavors getting brought to the table for them on this round.
I only like similar flavors if it comes to ice cream, and this doesn't look a lot like ice cream. So, DarkZero, though, rest of Oxygen. Still some strong beginnings here for both of them. DarkZero just worried about the drone game for now, but as you said, we haven't really had too much of a change up from either of these guys in operating lineups or what have you. Still have Hyper on the Jaeger and everything else that we would expect. The only difference is that Oxygen is getting top control very, very quickly here, with none of them dying, as well as DarkZero still existing downstairs. So, I mean, for all intents and purposes, this is a completely different round from what we've seen on Clubhouse so far.
Definitely a different play out here, but what will be the conclusion? That's always our big question. As Foxy continues to mess up the floorboards over by the main stair hallways. Vert also getting ready to descend down into the basement from Blue Stair. Hatches being opened up momentarily here as well. That'll give them access into Moto. So all these POVs being lined up here for Oxygen. You still have the very odd wrinkle downstairs for DarkZero, but that will eventually come to blows as well here when those players are forced into combat. But there's a heavy commitment to the Arsenal side, especially with Mint doubling down on the aggression towards Dirt. We've already seen how one of the members of Oxygen got isolated out and basically put into a nigh impossible 1vx as a result of staying there too long. So Mint's got to be careful about this. It looks like he'll fall back. Only one of the X-Kairos will get blown up due to a nice impact. They can try it again. If that was the explosion from the impact, though, it's definitely not going to work out this time. We will see a successful opening of the hatch on the second attempt of the X-Kairos. One remaining as well for Bio to try and use somewhere else if he does need to.
Well, Slash has already expended all of his hard breach as well, so this is more than likely going to be an armory execute here. Slash almost losing his life, but thinks better of it and immediately sprints away. Ends up saving himself. So DarkZero just now have to wait and see how Oxygen want to try and take this. Liking the setup for DarkZero inside of the armory area to try and shut this down. Mint's got a Banshee to try and assist him if anyone wants to pressure Dirt, as well as so many crosses for Oxygen to worry about. They really need to get an initial pick here. I don't even know if they can see Houghton from this angle either, and I think that's going to be the biggest problem. You have an Alda in such a pivotal position, and when you put it to good use, it all of a sudden starts killing everyone. Slash, with an attempt to put the case down, at least he gets found and finally dusted, but not before Laxing fires back. He takes down Skies, but it's eclipsed once again with the TCSG-12. Fighting fire with fire as it's all of a sudden down to Laxing. He's the only one that remains for the Oxygen team. Still inside of Moto, but finally gets taken down by Hyper. DarkZero all over it when it comes to Oxygen's execute.
Both these teams constantly being funneled into just a full-on drop play through the kitchen hatch, with pretty much the entire team trying to do so. Similarly, how it didn't really work for DarkZero, it's not going to work for OXG, even with that very nice form on the swan dive from Foxy. It still doesn't get them into the site where they need to, and it definitely doesn't give them the post-plant control they absolutely would have needed for that to work. So pause is going to be called here. I believe it was from OXG. They're going to take a good 30 seconds to a minute here to figure out what exactly is going wrong, and more importantly, on this upcoming CCTV defense, what needs to be done correctly.
Exactly. That's what matters the most. They really need to hit the mark on these upcoming rounds. It's do or die right now, and obviously we all know it's 3-5, but the reason that this round is so important is after this, if they end up losing to DarkZero, they cannot mess up again. This is the time to really try and put some rounds together and make it to where you have some breathing room. There is a chance that you can fail, so therefore you still can try some things. And for Oxygen, that means the world to them. We've all been witnessing throughout the entire day what they can do when they have the ability to make plays. The problem is when the other team gets down to that last point, you have to link rounds together. Sometimes making plays is the worst thing that you could possibly do.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are back into it now, heading full speed into that CCTV defense coming up here in just a second. Of course, have to get ourselves through that remaining 6-pick phase after the pause, but here we go. Another attack for Oxygen, another defense for DarkZero. A chance for DarkZero to inch themselves within one round's grasp of that lower bracket final, as well as knocking out Oxygen and taking away their safe guarantee of a spot at SI. For Oxygen, they're fighting very much to prevent all that from being lost here. They want the same things that DarkZero wants, and more than anything, they want that secured spot at SI. They've got to win this series to get it, and they're only 2 rounds behind DarkZero from at least tying us back up.
Well, that's the biggest thing, right? 2 people, 2 customers, 2 people trying to dominate North America and grab that crown, grab those points, and try and go to 6 Invitational, but seems as though there's only 1 ticket. One of these teams is going to be sent home today and won't be guaranteed SI like we were just saying. DarkZero looking quite strong so far on these defenses. We're headed back upstairs to CCTV. We are going to have Hyper on the Vigil this time around, as he's going to be on an extended hold all the way over in Gym. So we could see some Hyper aggression from this member of DarkZero, especially with that hatch being open. He has a lot of means to make something happen.
Some impacts are going to deal a bit of damage to the X-Kairos, but it won't stop them from being breached. They've got the top angle open. They've got the majority of the bottom angle open, and I don't think that the one X-Kairos that's missing is going to be a major issue for them. Irregardless of that fact, we've got OXG kind of ignoring those breaches for the time being anyways. They're focused on getting the balcony open for themselves so that they can play into the site. Bio is creeping back over to those holes in garage, though, so he may yet get his fight against Mint, as they're in a very, very passive situation between the 2 of them right now. Neither one wanting to take the wrong step in either direction. The good news for Oxygen is that the wall is relatively easy to get open. So this fight over here, it's a little consequence when they're able to get that balcony pretty much for free.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Oxygen making good utilization of the regular utilities that we would expect to be, in tow with all of that. So able to get the wall open, but they still have a lot of utility to worry about on site. And this is where these explosives are going to come in for Oxygen. They need to get rid of quite a bit of this, and they still have garage to worry about as well. Obviously, plenty of time to do all of this, but the main problem is right now is that this roam game seems to be getting more and more vicious, or more apt to try and take a gunfight on the side of DarkZero. They're looking to get in the face of Oxygen and try and slow them down.
You can see a 1-for-1 exchange to start it out. Both are in separate actually, no, they're in the same situation there, as I correct myself really quickly. Eclipse and Foxay going to be lost from either team, so keeps us even at a 4v4. Slash will continue to push, though, and potentially get a little aggressive here as he goes up onto the catwalk, but unfortunately wasn't expecting Skies to be waiting for him there. Clotheslines him with the SMG-11 after he tries to take down that battery and succeeds in knocking out the utility, but is not going to succeed in living, so probably not worth the trade in that scenario. Flexing now through the breach. He's trying to creep forward here, seeing if he can get an angle for free onto one of the players in cash. A very smart play, especially with the slow movement, so as to not alarm any of the players in cash, but it doesn't work out. It's not going to be able to isolate them out. We'll start seeing the smoke charges be used here as well. Now that we've entered 30 seconds, they can be spammed, so that area is going to be constantly smoked for the rest of the remaining time.
That's going to be a huge issue here for Oxygen inside of this 3 versus 4. Still plenty of good positions here for DarkZero to utilize, specifically Mint here at the top of red as he's trying to make a large impact. Concussions in now, though, as Oxygen's going to get aggressive. Bio starts to throw the plant down, but the smoke grenade's coming in. But Vertical lighting up the scoreboard now, takes down 2, laxing with the 3rd. They need to get this case going, but they can't do it. All the kills in the world can't help them put that case on the ground, and DarkZero win it out on the timer.
Oxygen have been coming so close on so many of these rounds where their initial plant attempt has been denied. They need to get back onto the case. That's at least the 2nd time, though, where they've been denied and they had the case on the ground pretty much ready, but the game just didn't give it to them right there. So once again, another super unfortunate turn of events for OXG, and it has fully put them up against elimination here now. It's 3-6. They can't lose another round. They've got to win the next 3 consecutively, and they've got to take it in OT.
It's back against the wall right now for Oxygen. DZ's got him by the throat. They're just waiting to deliver the finishing blow, and this might be it here, John. Gym Bedroom for DarkZero, and they are bringing everything right now. We got the Clash, we have the Malusi. This is going to change up how this site works dramatically, especially with that Malusi Clash duo like we were talking about. This is going to delay so much of what Oxygen wants to do, and they're really going to have to lean on these explosives to handle a lot of that. But that's that's the main problem. Look at the lineup right now for OXG. They have Vertical and Foxe, but nobody else with explosives. They're gonna have to try and utilize pressuring through these Banshees more than likely if it comes down to it, and that's not something that you really want to see. I see a lot of this utility being dedicated towards mints, and then these Banshees coming up inside of that late round. And even if you go down that route, you still have the rest of the DarkZero roster to worry about.
All right, there's a lot stacked up against OXG. A lot making us think that they may not be able to make it past this round, but they have an idea. They have a plan. We'll have to see if that plan will be able to get past the many obstacles which have been set up for DarkZero. Eclipse even having himself to set up on the inside here. Now he is playing with a Nitro, so he's not actually going to be able to use those slats in the ground. That's why the Nitro is pre-placed, that he can more than likely get a free denial off. But other than that, he doesn't have impact, so he's not going to be able to use this as well as he would have thought, and won't be able to really deny the hard breach if it comes that direction for further than just the one Nitro cell denial.
I believe he actually wants to kill him. I think that that's the difference here. I think that he wants them to try and think that he's going to impact trick, so they'll put it on the floor or something like that, and then you tap off a Nitro cell and nuke 3 people or something along those lines. We'll have to see if that ends up happening, but probably the game plan from DarkZero, I would assume.
Does it actually
nice setup.
Does it actually bleed player damage through the ground too when you do it like that?
Oh yeah.
Does it?
Oh yeah.
Wow, I didn't even know.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That Nitro cell will definitely kill somebody, 100%. So Oxygen though, instead of going into cash, have now chosen to go all the way to Jacuzzi. This could actually be a big win here for DarkZero. Hyper simply going to bait as he punches a hole through dirt, just to possibly come back to later. But for now, Oxygen are barreling down onto site. Plenty of time as well to try and make some things happen. They do have good drone economy right now as well, so hopefully they just don't get too ahead of themselves.
All right, well, let's see if that's going to be the case. Things will start out well for Oxygen, as Fox is going to pick up a kill, but it's at a heavy cost as he also goes down. Skies will be able to confirm the down as he finishes him off in that earlier fight. Houghton will probably get the assist on that one. Away from that, Skies is also waiting in a very high-pressure situation, sitting behind the impenetrable mattress, trying to keep himself alive, while also not having an inch to move against the overall setup right now here from OXG. Slash seems like he's getting some intel, trying to pre-fire into that position that Skies is playing into, but not getting a whole lot of damage off. Vertical finds the next one here, brings OXG back into the fray, as well as back into the lead here, potentially further than that too. Eclipse takes a risk, tries to swing over on the CCTV window and gets denied. Now they still have to work their way past the clash. He's still guarding the primary hallway here. And that's arguably going to be the biggest obstacle still in their way, as there's only 2 players with real guns left in this fight.
Mint still making things work here on the Jacuzzi balcony with this clash play. Hyper just living his life, and that's exactly what he's needed to do. But the case plant starts going down. Vertical able to take down the clash as well, all of a sudden to Eclipse with very low HP, but he gets the Nitro cell to go through. That's going to stop the case. They need to try and pick this back up and attempt another plant, but do they have a beat on what Eclipse is doing? If they don't, this could be the game. Laxing already halfway through this plant. He doesn't know where he's planting. It finally goes down, but not before Vertical swings out, fries Eclipse, and keeps Oxygen's lifeblood going.
Eclipse trying to keep himself in that fight. Little spray. It's not even actually what gives him away there, as we see Vertical caught onto it probably from an audio cue a couple seconds beforehand. So he knows what was going on there. He's able to shut it down and save the end for at least a little bit longer here, pushing back the inevitable or possibly stemming the tide and allowing themselves to get back into this. It's another question that's still yet to be answered here. DZ has 2 more attempts to close this down before it goes to OT. And thankfully for them, they're going to be able to go back to some sites where they've already won now. It's Basement that's going to be up on deck first here, as it's the first to be unlocked.
Yeah, and throwing it back to what we saw the last time that DarkZero went to Basement, this was one of their most influential rounds that they've had throughout this series so far. So for DarkZero, this is more than likely going to be, well, at the beginning, quite easy for them. It's going to be about how Oxygen adjusts, just like in that last round. They honestly dedicated everything to the Jacuzzi at the proper moment in time, were able to get the picks, and for the most part, keep the man count the same. The best thing about that round from Oxygen is that they didn't miss a beat when it came down to worrying about what DarkZero could possibly produce when they started going for those aggressive fronts. We saw a lot of, very aggressive peaks out to the master balcony, and time again, Oxygen continually traded back and forth and kept their chances alive. Very well done from them that last round. I don't think that they're out of this just yet, but it's going to be very difficult to continue to try and fight through these DarkZero setups.
Well, it's got to be at least 2 more here from Oxygen if they truly want to stay in this series, truly want to stay in the tournament, more importantly, and truly keep their chances. This is another factor for DarkZero, at least we haven't even talked about yet. DarkZero currently the defending major champions, so to see them go out last in the next major would be a massive disappointment to them and their fans. They need to stay in this just as much as Oxygen does, but only one team can go forward here. Only one team can move on. Away from that, Vertical running in here. He's a little bit late to the party to try and catch Eclipse, but at least he knows where he fell back to, so maybe can utilize that info to lock it down a little bit later on. As the drones are busy droning away throughout both the first and second floor, they'll realize they've got to clear pretty soon here, as Hyper is also going to be found out. Mint, I should say, from DZ. Also in the neighborhood, but more than likely both Hyper and Mint are going to have to peel back relatively soon, as they've both been droned out. And there's not much opportunity for them to pick up any opening frags here, so they're just leaving themselves out exposed. There's actually going to see Eclipse get hunted down here. He's got to run for his life, quite literally. Foxay smashing open the stage wall to try and reveal him, but it does not work out, and it looks like indeed Eclipse was able to escape that very scary fight and get himself back to the site.
And practically the clutches of a supervillain right there. I didn't think that he was getting out of that at all, but I guess he was the superhero inside of our story. Oxygen not able to close him down. Yeah, the plot thickens, apparently, as nitro cells now go off on the kitchen floor, but there's nobody home for those. Oxygen, worse for wear now, as they really haven't got too much map control. They finally cleared out these top 2 floors, but they need to start getting some dedication into the kitchen area. Secondary hard breach here for Laxing on that line. They've already utilized one of his EE1Ds, so he's still going to have 2 at his disposal, and this is actually going to change up how everything will be handled from Oxygen. Nice pickup onto Hot, and that's a Goyo off the field, but now DarkZero can pressure from really any means necessary. They're down a gun. They can try and shift gears and make these crossfires work into their favor, but now they have to worry about Hyper inside of blue.
That's the case going down too. It is relatively under their control, but the problem is it's on the ground. They don't know if someone's aimed in on it right now. There's a lot of things to consider, but they're going to get it back under their control. They realize that it's relatively safe for retrieval here. They've also got info on at least one player on the inside of Church, so their main concern right now is the Arsenal team and how they're going to deal with that after they knock out this player. The problem is, though, Skies is not going down. Skies is staying alive in this situation up until that point, at least there. Laxing also found a very important kill onto Hyper, and the plant is now going down. Eclipse trying to deny it, but he's got to watch out as they've got full coverage on that player. Nitro Cell comes in, but it's too late. The plant's already been completed. Mint's on his own here, but he may very well win it. Takes out Laxing. This would be a 1v3 clutch if he can do it. Gets the hop over just in time for Laxing to peek it as well. So Mint's made it past here. This is such a precarious peak for Mint because there's so many different positions for Fox to be playing into. Pushes the site, but Fox has the advantage. He shuts it down, and OXG once again survive.
What a 1v1 between these two. Oxygen still living inside of this best of 3 between these two. DarkZero, our last major champions, being pushed to the limit by Oxygen on Clubhouse. We're 1 round away from forcing overtime. Back to the drawing board for them. We don't even know what the site's going to be yet. They haven't locked it. I can tell you right now, though, it is now going to be CCTV, at least for the time being. But I definitely think that this timeout's needed. This is way too many rounds in a row for Oxygen. They've finally done it, John. We didn't think that they were going to make it through this simply because DarkZero continued to deal with that aggression so very well. But when it came down to the 1v1, Mint just not better in the clutch than Foxay. That was masterfully done by both of them, though, continuing to stay on the move, making sure nobody had that intel. It was some beautiful, beautiful stuff from both of those players.
All right, so it will come down to the wire. Once this pause expires, we'll go into the 12th round. The final round of Regulation Siege, where another overtime could very well be staring us in the face if Oxygen are able to continue their comeback here. They've been on that comeback path for such a long time, already winning it once. And the previous map obviously was much less of a deficit. Now about to do it once again, running the full gauntlet, bringing them back into the fold, potentially triggering OT. DZ want to stop this. I don't know if they can. CCTV and cash is going to be where that's decided.
Oxygen's hopes and dreams way in the balance here. DarkZero going to shift gears for CCTV. They've brought the bandit every single time on hot and cold, but they're going to put hot and cold on one of his most impactful roles that you can possibly apply this guy to, and that's going to be the Maestro player. He's going to be bringing that Alda and all that firepower at his disposal to try and thwart Oxygen's plans to push this into overtime. I think that this is honestly the adjustment that they needed. They also moved Hyper off of that Jaeger. He's on over to the Mozzie, so they've adjusted things other places. It seems as though they went for kind of the blanket. Put Houghton on a operator he really likes, give him a lot of bullets, make sure that when Oxygen goes for that execute, he has the means to slow them down or at least get some very impactful kills, and then move Hyper onto more of a role where he's going to hinder their success inside of Intel. Then finally Mint and everybody else wrapping up the pack with not only throwables as well as just slowing them down overall. So DarkZero seems to be going for that blanket plan once again. We'll see how it works for them. Oxygen's definitely going to have the utility to handle this, especially with Laxing on board with that Thatcher. So Oxygen still well within their right to push this to OT.
See if they can do it. Round's already about 30 seconds into it. We should see Oxygen open up the balcony wall relatively quickly, primarily because the defenders have nothing to stop it with. So Slash shouldn't be too far away from popping that open and at least starting to investigate what's going on deeper in that site. DC are really hoping that there's an aggressive play work into Garage here, as they've got 2 players committed to it. Flips, of course, up on the catwalk, and Mint playing down below, but Mint will have to quickly reposition with the balcony being open. They realize that there's probably not, at least not anytime soon, going to be an immediate play for trying to get control over there. We've also still got an extended roam game in the form of Hyper way over here at Bar. That immediately needs to be pulled back now because they do need to start focusing on the site. However, he's going to stay out a little bit longer here. He's going to try and extend his grasp that he has over here, continue wasting at least the drone time for those players upstairs, but they're not really worried about it. Vert's sending his through pretty quickly right now, and it's going to be figuring things out.
It's much worse than you think unless Fox A is able to drone out Kitchen. This right here could be what wins them the game or not. I don't know if they got that intel. Nitro cell out. Foxy definitely knows that someone's downstairs now. I believe that Hyper ended up getting droned there. Yeah, he did end up shooting one of Foxy's drones, but actually, no, it's on main stairs. So we had no idea that Hyper was there at all. Hyper with a very pre-botched nitro cell there, that ends up not getting him too much, which that's the sad thing, right? Like he had the sneaky play but wasn't able to do too much with it.
Yeah, if he had chosen not to blow that up and just leave it on the ground, he could have actually made a pretty impressive flank, as Stokes had been mentioning later on. But unfortunately, too much tracking going on to him, as well as the fact there was a lot of drones buzzing around, I think made him think that he had already been revealed, so he gives that away right there. Bit of a dangerous stack on the inside, but Mint needed to get into position to throw out those impacts. He denies the initial X-Kairos. He does have one more, I believe, but I also think that the majority of the utility has been used, and yes, indeed, Bio's out. No more X-Kairos. They've got a very messy hole to work with there on the construction wall. This could be a big nade, though. Oh, but it's eaten up. An ADS they didn't realize was there, is sitting on the right side, so it's not going to work. Foxy also gets thrown away from the door now that a smoke charge will block it.
Gonna be some big problems here for Oxygen. More smoke grenades out for Skies as he continues to stem the tide. Oxygen need to try and force their way in. They're looking for these picks, but DarkZero are not giving them any time of day. Nice pickup from Eclipse all the way from Garage onto Fox A. Oxygen are going to have to do what they do best. It's time for that bull in the China shop mentality, folks. They need to bully their way into sight here. Oxygen, how are you going to act? Because for right now, it's DarkZero all over the board. Slasha gets one, but he can't get the rest. And DarkZero close it out in regulation, sending Oxygen home.
A very, very impressive win at the end of the day from DarkZero. Had to battle truly to the bitter end of regulation timing on our